Well, hello there, Tampa Bay, and welcome to the Coach White Sports Special. I'm your host, Coach Chuck White, and my guest today is Coach Earl Garcia. Coach Garcia is the head football coach at Hillsborough High School of the Fighting Terriers. He's been coaching for 39 years, and he has accomplished a great slate of victories, 216. Wow, what a feat. He played at Washington University with the Fighting Ichabods. I remember Coach through the years, and we're going to talk about those things. But first, I like to say, Coach Garcia, welcome to the show.
Always a pleasure to be with you, Coach White. You know
And
that.
it's always a pleasure to have you. We want our many viewers to know that you and I go way back to the days of playing high school when I was coaching over there, and you were our little trapping guards. You were tough, and we always respect you for being such a great player. So why don't we talk about some of the things and let our many listening viewers get more acquainted with you. When was it you first had a love for football, and what manner?
Well, that's a great question, Coach. You know, my dad passed when I was 11 years old, and he was a player at Hillsborough and Jefferson. So he gave me my love for football, but quite frankly, guys like yourself and Coach Burgess were my role models. I wanted to be like you guys. So you guys were the ones that originally pushed me toward coaching just by the way that you carried yourself, the great respect that our locker rooms had for people like yourself. And I wanted to emulate you, and I'm still trying.
Well, I can look back in those days and see you coming in the locker room. You were such a nice guy as well as a player. You know, guys with the talent that you had that seemed to get kind of arrogant or whatever, but I don't think you've ever had a day in the dean's office for problems. I don't think you never had a problem with a teacher or anything. You were just an ideal. You said we were role models, and you were the role model of the type players that we want to always coach.
Thank you.
Why don't you talk about the first time you ever had your hand on a football or ever stepped on a football field?
Well, Coach White, as you well know, back in the day, we didn't have youth leagues back then. You played in the backyard, and so I never played until I got to junior high school. And I had a chance to play for Coach Bobby Sherrill at Wilson, and back in the day, we played 8th and 9th grade junior high ball, and if you were good enough, you got invited to come up to your feeder school and partake in spring ball with your high school. So I got a chance to come up, myself and another player named Walter Hobbs, who is an attorney in town. He and I got invited to come up and play during the spring ball plant of 1967. And I got killed on a regular basis. Every day they killed me, but Walter did a great job. He went on to the University of Florida and played up there. But from that moment, I knew I not only wanted to play, I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to do it my whole life.
That's your junior high school days. They call it junior high then, but now it's called something else.
It's middle school.
Middle school.
Yes, sir.
But right in the middle. And when you started playing varsity, what happened there?
Well, the guys were all bigger, faster, and stronger than me, and I just tried to survive on a daily basis. You know, this was back in the 60s when we played. There were no water breaks, and there was none of the things that we do now with our kids. And so you had to be probably a little tougher mentally than you have to be nowadays. But I had a chance to start my first game as a junior, and I got a chance to start my junior and senior years. And those guys that I played football with back then, Coach, are still my best friends in life.
Well, not only the guys with whom I played, but the guys against whom I played came out to be good friends of mine today. And I remember when I went to a fraternity meeting up in Alabama, I met some guys up there against whom we played in basketball. And they talk about how we beat them with just 4 guys against the whole team. All the rest of our guys had foul out. We played 13 and a half minutes with 4 guys against their team, and we won. Wow. We were down 5 points with only 3 minutes to go. But when we won, everybody fell out of the stand or came out of the stand, and some of them was from Alabama. Just the idea of having 4 guys finish and win by 4 points.
How about that?
But they carried me out. We was up there for about a week, and they carried me out night after night, treated me royal. And I meet guys throughout the country against whom I played, and they treat you royal. So athletic has its place in life. It's just a fraternity type thing. You know, in sports, there's no such thing as race unless you're racing from one position to the other. And there's no color unless we're talking about the color of uniforms.
Right.
So everybody are just brothers of the same lodge, the same organization of sports.
Absolutely.
And I just want to bring that portion in there. Now, can you mention, think of any of the guys with whom you played in junior high or in varsity?
Absolutely. Walter Hobbs was, I played through junior high and high school. Tony Belanca I played with, as you well know him. Charlie Hardee, who his great-grandfather was a governor, one of the early governors in the state of Florida, as in Hardee County. So a lot of those guys that, as you said, the sports were the common denominator, you know. Whether you were a single-parent family, whether you were white or black, didn't matter.
Yes.
Football, baseball, basketball was a common denominator. It still is. It still is.
That's the way it should be.
Yes, sir.
That's just the way it should be. Now, how did you ever get to Washington University?
Well, you know, back then, it's not like it is today. I'm coaching, and it's changed so much. We used to send out videotape. Before that, we used to send out our 16-millimeter reels around.
Big more noise at the
You
sound.
remember that? And now you just email clips of your players around. But I had a chance to get my hands on one game my senior year, because it was very hard to get your hands on a 16-millimeter film, and you had to send one reel to one university and one reel to another. And Washburn came back and asked me if I wouldn't mind going out there and playing for him. I was tickled to death to be able to do that.
Washburn,
Yeah,
that was
Washburn.
the head coach.
Yes, sir. It was in Topeka, Kansas. They had a great, they still to this day have a great law school, one of the best in the Midwest. And my original plan was to either become a coach or an attorney, and obviously I made the wrong choice, so I'm still coaching.
Well, Ichabod. I always thought that was some kind of an animal or something. Explain this thing about the Ichabod.
Well, we were the fighting, and still are the fighting Ichabods at Washburn University. When we got there, they brought all the freshman signees in and explained it to us, and what it was a gentleman had gone to the university in the early 60s, 1860s, and after Civil War, the university was about to foreclose. They didn't have enough money to keep it going, and this gentleman named Ichabod Washburn had gone on to become a very prominent Boston attorney, so he gave the university $1 million in 1869, so it saved the university. Down the road, they renamed it from Kansas State Teachers Normal College to Washburn University, and then in the 60s, in the early 60s, we were the Golden Panthers, and the student body got together and said, well, why don't we name them, the whole school, after Ichabod Washburn? We'll name them the Fighting Ichabods. So we were the Fighting Ichabods from Washburn University, and our logo went from a golden panther on our helmet to a gentleman with a top coat and a stack of books under his arms. We weren't very menacing, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I do remember when you told me, I was over at Plant then, you know, as the coach, and you were one of the players, and you were headed to, I said, where are you going to school? You said, I'm going to be an Ichabod. I said, Ichabod? You said, yes. I used to kid you about that throughout, and I think about it every time I see you now. I always tell you about the Ichabod.
And you know what, Coach? If I see you 6 months, I don't see you. It's the first thing I always tell me. How's that Fighting Ichabod doing? My wife doesn't even know the name of the collar of the
Oh, man, that was a great moment. You know, you mentioned about you don't have water breaks in high school now. And I can remember when John Burgess, the head coach, he gave me the opportunity to come out of the stands about 3 to 5 minutes early. I used to be in the press box keeping what he called a hit shot. Every hole, like even numbers to the right, 2, 4, 6, and 8.
Right.
Odd numbers, 3, 5, 7 to the left. And every time they hit in that hole, I put a plus or minus, and I put it on his desk. But he wanted me to be the first one to the locker room, open the door, and let all the players in. Now, when the players go in to get on water, he had a special little stick I could hit him on the helmet when say, estimate about 10 seconds when they do ping, and if they don't get off the water, then pull them off. So that was my job. I mean, boy, that was a heck of a coaching job.
Well, we still do the hit chart. We just don't do the stick on the helmet anymore. Probably get sued for it nowadays.
Yes, sue for anything.
For anything, yes, sir.
But I remember those days when we didn't have it.
Yep.
And even as a coach, when I coached at Blake High School, we played Jones High School at 2 o'clock in the day in Orlando. And boy, it was hot on that field. Coach Big Jim Williams was the head coach at Blake. He said, make sure they don't drink any water because they get cramps. That was the thing, the theory we had to get cramps. Some of the guys would get towels and put in the ice what we had for leg and get ice water in there and squeeze it.
Yep.
And the and after a while we saw Jones guy was just falling out with leg cramps. So it must have been a little bit of truth in it. They was falling out with leg cramps. Our guys were still going strong.
And Coach, I think we'd get arrested now if we did that.
Oh man. But speaking of water again, I was the head JV coach too at Plant. So one of the trainers came over there and told me, said, Coach White, I said, yeah. Coach Burgess said, water them down. So I'm looking like the field was dusty and had little plants or something. I said, why do you want me to water the plants away? You know? And he came back over and said, give him some water. He started signaling, give him some water. So the trainers would bring some thing and give him water. I wasn't used to players getting water then.
No. It wasn't when I was there. You didn't give me any water, Coach.
No, I wasn't used to players getting water. But I think now they have an official rule of water break. You want to explain that?
Well, it's gotten more intelligent. Really, we're in Florida. You know, it's awful hot out there. And I don't think being thirsty has anything to do with being tough. It's just a physiological issue. So we have water in every one of our drills. We ask our kids to drink when they're not involved in the drill. So we don't take a water break. Our kids are drinking water for the whole 2.5 hours we're out on the practice field. And, you know, we have trainers now that are walking around looking for the symptoms and the warning signs of dehydration. And, you know, for a while when Corey Stringer died with the Minnesota Vikings, that was a big deal. Then it became supplements were the culprit. Now it's concussions and head injuries. So we're going to follow whatever the league does. And the league made it very important to hydrate your teams, and that's what we've been doing.
What has a player to do in order to become a Hillsborough High School Fighting Terror? What does he have to do? He has to sign up, pay money, or what? Start from the beginning.
Well, in the whole county, the process is the same. You have to obviously get your physical and have verification that you live in the proper district and that you have birth certificates. And once the paperwork is all done, and the paperwork's gotten to be about that big, Coach.
Wow.
The stack, yeah, there's a whole lot of legalities you have to go through. But once you go through it and you start, it's changed so much, man. We have a full-time strength and conditioning coach. You know, we do the same things in the weight room. He was at Pittsburgh and West Virginia University. We do the same things the Division I kids are doing. And it's 11.5 months a year. And so we tell our players to be a player, you know, once you're certified, obviously, you get the paperwork out of the way, you have to take care of classroom number one. That's number one, always has been. You used to preach that to us in the 60s.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely, and it hasn't changed. Then after you take care of the classroom, you take care of the weight room. And that's a year-round deal. We live during the season, we live especially during the off season. And so we feel if our kids take care of the classroom number one, the weight room number two, then football will take care of itself.
You're talking about a year-round thing. When we played football, I'm talking about yours truly, Coach Billy Reed of Hillsborough High School in Middleton. We live a block and a half from each other. We go down to the Dobeville schoolyard and play football. If I could get on the same team with Billy or get him on my team, I felt we were going to beat anybody out there because I thought he and I was the most talented kids in our area.
Sure.
For some reason, they tried to keep us apart, but we would always manipulate a little bit, try to get on the same team.
There was recruiting going on, wasn't there, Coach?
Recruit. Well, anyway, what I'm about to say, we both were good in football. Then we built a basketball goal up against his dad's garage. And that's where we started playing basketball, right in Billy Reed's backyard. Dirt. The lady next door had her white sheets on the line. That dirt would just kick up till we looked over them sheets had turned gray or black. And she told us we couldn't, told his dad, and he said we couldn't play out there anymore. So we moved around on Cleveland Street and dug a hole, put the goal post down there. We used to build our own things then. And we used to play basketball around there because the railroad tracks was there then. They couldn't go straight through like they do now. They had to stop and turn, so that allowed us to play out there. We used to play touch football out in the street and everything.
We did too, right?
Yeah. And then we had a baseball down at somewhere by Billy Reed's house, and the ball went over the person's yard on the foul tip, and the guy took an axe and chopped that thing, said, "Here's your damn ball," threw it back at us. But we used to catch back there with no face mask. Oh, man.
Yep.
And I can see Billy Reed back there now. Well, during the time when we came up playing, the catcher was something like singing a song or preaching. Come on, baby, bring it in here now. Come on in there. We had to do all that kind of stuff. So we had a guy we called Face because he didn't have no face mask. He would stick his face right in there under the catcher, like no face mask.
Tougher kids.
Oh, man.
Tougher guys.
We had no mouthpiece when we played in high school. We had no face mask in high school. I had no chin strap. My helmet would just come off. And a friend of mine, Percival Houston, was talking about how my helmet would be dropping down over my eyes. And those were the adverse type of conditions under which we played. But the guys today, they wouldn't dare think of playing with something like that.
Oh, no, it's probably against the rules, too. That
Yes,
coach would go
that's
back
right.
to jail.
And I played a football game with no hip pads on.
Oh, man.
And my coach saw me taking it. He said, "Where you hip pads?" I said, "I didn't play them." I said, "They were worn out and had wire and stuff. It was sticking my hip every time I." He said, "Boy, don't you never go out on that field out there. So you tell me these things."
No, Coach, we have to sign a waiver before the football games, each football game with the referees stating that our kids are legally equipped.
Yes.
Because not only is it a penalty, you can get thrown out. I can get thrown out of the game if one of my kids were to do that. But, you know, you brought up another point. You guys played every sport.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it should be. And that's one of the things that we do well at Hillsborough is push our kids to play more than one sport. But that's not like that everywhere. You know, there's such specialization now. The kids are only playing one sport. But back then, kids, whatever season it was, that's what you did.
That's what we did.
Absolutely, we did too.
Not only you played one sport, you coached more than one.
Very good.
If
point.
you at that school and had that, you were it.
Yep.
I coached girls basketball and boys basketball the same season.
Oh, boy.
I practiced girls basketball and boys basketball during the same time.
Wow.
Had them playing on one court, the boys playing on the other, walking down the middle, had them shoot free throws, and that's the way. Wow. And when I was in Key West, I practiced girls a little while, little rest, and I put the boys out there. I put the back, had all of them shooting layups at the same time.
Wow.
And we were winners.
Yeah.
I won a girl basketball championship in junior high school in Quincy, district champs. 1 hour later, I became district champs of the boys. All the season, the girls lost not one game.
I'll be done.
All the season, the boys lost not one game. So that was the thing I enjoyed.
Wow.
I coached girls and boys and JV. I even refereed a JV game, refereed girls varsity and a boys varsity in the same night by myself.
That's unbelievable. No wonder they never fired you guys. They couldn't replace you.
And we didn't make not one nickel or dime, honey, sometime more. The referees had an accident on the highway trying to get there, and the principal was going to pay us off after the game. We used to get the checks from the office, and I went to get my check for the association, and he just gave it for one. I said, no, it's for three. I mean, two guys officiate the JV, two would officiate the girls varsity, two officiate the boys. So that totaled out to the amount that he had to pay me for the association.
Makes sense.
He said, do you think you were as good official as three guys? I said, hell, I'm tired of 10 guys.
That's worth the paycheck there.
Yeah, he gave me the check there. Well, Coach, you were talking about how you signed up to play football. I heard about this pay for play. Do you know anything about this pay for play?
Well, things have gotten so expensive.
Yes.
Uniforms, helmets. Back when I played for you, Coach, the county gave us 100% of what we were wearing,
Yes.
including shoes. Now the county still provides 100% except for the cleats. So, the helmets go for $140 each.
Wow.
Footballs are $60 a football. So our county has done a wonderful job of not asking families to pay for the equipment that the kids are using in football or any other sport. But that's not the case in some of the other counties in the state. I've happened to be a past president of the Coaches Association, and in a lot of the counties in the state of Florida, there is a pay for play charge for these kids, whether it's junior high school, middle school, or high school. And some of it gets to be pretty expensive. But Hillsborough County's policy has never been to charge a family for their child to be involved in extracurricular. Now, they have to purchase supplemental insurance, and that makes sense. But other than that, they don't have to pay a dime, whether it's officiating, transportation, uniforms, field upkeep, coaches' salaries, school security at the games, no matter what it is. And that's I'm proud of Hillsborough County for doing that.
How much safety that you stress in football? I mean, what are some of the things you provide or the school provide for a person's safety?
Well, as you well know, because you've been doing this longer than I, football is a dangerous sport. It really is.
Wow.
It is. It's a collision sport, and I think it's our responsibility as coaches and adults to educate our kids on how they can keep themselves safe, such as hydrating, keeping themselves with a lot of fluids in them. But as far as on the field, like at Hillsborough High School, we never allow any blocking or tackling below the waist in practice. So we want to stay off each other's knees. Anymore, Coach White, once the season starts, we don't scrimmage anymore during the season. Most teams are carrying 50 players. If you must have a young man get injured, you'd rather have him get injured in the game on Friday than in a drill on Monday. So we've cut the hitting way back, as most high schools have. I think we've gotten more intelligent on what we're asking our players to do. That we probably asked them to do more classroom work for football and video work than we ever did back when we were players. But we try to educate them on and off the field on how to keep each other healthy and more safe. But it's always going to be injuries in our sport, always.
We could go on and on talking about concussion. We can go on talking about this defibrillator thing and all you have to have. What about the ambulance services? Do you assign one coach to be on ambulance duty during this game or something and rotate the squad or something? How do you handle that?
That's a great question, Coach. Nobody's ever asked me that. We have a trainer, as most schools do, and if we have a school in our district that doesn't have a trainer, that needs to be addressed. But our trainer has a catastrophic injury plan where if a student athlete were to get hurt at practice, we rehearse every one of our roles, like who calls 911, which would be her, who runs out to the street to flag the EMS, the truck down, because we know where it's coming from.
Love it.
Another group of coaches are going to take the kids away from him. So we practice this. It's called our catastrophic injury plan. Also, Mr. Robinson, our athletic director, places an ambulance at every home football game throughout the county, which is very comforting for us. Because, let me knock on wood, I've been doing this a long time. We've never had a kid have to go to the hospital via ambulance. So we've had to take them there afterwards, but as far as a life-threatening type of injury where we've had to evacuate a football player, that's never happened. But it is still very comforting to have that EMS, that ambulance in the corner of the stadium should we need them.
Well, I had that when I was a head football coach down in Winter at Drew High School, and the people couldn't understand why I didn't run out there and go to the ambulance when we were coaching. I needed to be there to see that the team is doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
I had a guy, you would have ambulance duty this game, then I take him off, put another guy there, and basically like what you're doing, we didn't have as many coaches then, but we rotate them where a kid would be secured and got to the hospital. Now after the game, I was the first one to the hospital to see what has happened to them. The parents love that about me.
Yeah.
But before our time run out, say something to us about the football game Sunday night, the Super Bowl.
I've seen them all, Coach White, just as you have. I think '67 was the first year that they started the Super Bowl. I've seen all 47 of them. And I was interested in the game because the two brothers, Angle, you know, but I really didn't have a favorite, but I thought it was really interesting, being that as the years have progressed, I've become really involved in our special teams, and the kicking game had a profound effect on that game. So at the end, I thought it was very appropriate that Ray Lewis go out with a goal line stand.
Amen.
To end his career, because he was such a great local player. He was from Lakeland Kathleen High School. And a lot of people don't realize not only was he a great football player, but Ray Lewis was a 4-time state champion wrestler.
That's right.
Yep, great player.
Well, Coach, I certainly appreciate having you as our guest. You've done a wonderful job, and I'm sure our many viewers got much from this show.
Thanks.
So that's it for the Coach White Sports Special. We certainly hope you've enjoyed the show this afternoon as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. So be with us again on our next show right here on the Tampa Bay Community Network.